Welcome. We are so excited to have you with us again, and we will be talking about experiential learning here at Southwestern University. So we are going to start with Sarah Brockman. Take it away, Sarah.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I know that you've had lots of great sessions starting on Saturday, continuing through yesterday, and then a panelist before us and another panelist after us. I am excited to join my team in talking about our experiential learning programs at Southwestern this afternoon. I am Dr. Sarah Brackman, the Senior Director of Integrative and Community Engaged Learning at Southwestern. And in my role, I'll be talking about all of our really engaging community, the partnerships, the learning partnerships our students are doing within the community. Hold on, I forgot to share my screen, so I'm going to pause for a moment. Not that I don't mind looking at your face, Laura, but our video or our PowerPoint is so much more engaging. So in my role, I'll be talking about our community partnerships that students are doing out in the local Georgetown community with nonprofits and other organizations. I also will be talking about internships. Typically, our Center for Career and Professional Development, Dana Luna, would be talking about internships, but she wasn't able to join us today. So I will be sharing a brief overview of internships and highlighting some of the unique opportunities our students have been doing. With me as well is Manya Lemery, who is our Director of Study Abroad. So she'll talk about our London semester program, our New York Arts and Washington, D.C. Study Away programs, as well as our faculty-led summer programs and all of the partnerships we have with other international study abroad providers. Ben is our Assistant Director of Integrative Learning, and he facilitates all of our faculty mentored research. So programs like our Scope Summer Research, where students work with a faculty member for 8 weeks over the summer. Ben will talk more about that in a bit. King Creativity Fund for students, and our Research and Creative Work Symposium, which this week is going virtual. Before I get started, let me start with a question for you all. While at Southwestern, which of the following will you do? And you can use the chat box feature to put your responses in that, and Ben will monitor for that for us. So if you are a student, which of these programs are you the most excited about doing when you come here at Southwestern and join us? And if you're a parent of a future pirate, what do you hope that they will do while they're at Southwestern? And I'll just give you a few moments. Looks like we've got a couple of responses. I love it. All but most excited to study abroad. How about everyone else? Any internship people? Anybody really involved in community service or volunteerism and can't wait to start doing that in Georgetown while they're here at Southwestern? Or the opportunities to do real hands-on applied research with faculty members from across our campus?
Sarah, we have a couple people that have responded in the question box.
Ah, okay, Ben.
Someone said, I'm excited about doing all four. And someone said faculty mentored research, which warms my heart, obviously, since that's my area. So it's exciting to see.
Thanks, Ben. Well, then we will, thanks for monitoring that for us. Oops. So let me start with some research, so you just don't take our word for it. That research conducted with executives and hiring managers from across the country and also internationally were asked questions about what they were looking for in hiring future employees. So not only just the CEOs, but also the people that were hiring individuals. And what they said is they are looking for individuals who have engaged in experiential learning. that have developed critical thinking, have developed skills in communication and time management, and have really had that real world experience. So you can see internships up there, you can see working with the community, service learning, as well as study abroad with that global context as well. At Southwestern, as you probably have heard in other panels and in other sessions, we are guided by the Paideia philosophy of making connections. So this idea of connecting the learning across the course, right? So what you've learned in the beginning of a course to the end of the course, across courses. So if you are taking a sociology course, being able to connect the readings and the lectures from that course to also taking a math course or a biology course, but thinking beyond just the surface connections, but really being able to reflect and integrate, but also thinking about applying knowledge from different contexts. So in experiential learning, we're talking about the ability to take what you're learning abroad in our study abroad programs, in a global context, or from the community, from a community engagement context, through working in a lab or working on a research team, and applying that across and connecting with other courses that you have taken at Southwestern, and asking the questions not only about what you've learned and how that it connects, but how does that shape you as an individual? How does that connect with your goals, your passions, and who you, what your future academic, personal, and professional goals are? I'm going to pass it over to Manya. And actually, before I do that, before I pass it over to Manya, I also want to share beyond just what the research shows, also seeing that our Southwestern students are engaging in these opportunities at higher levels than across the country, right? So 83% of our graduates, so the last 2 years graduates, have participated in at least one of the four that I've mentioned. 53% have engaged in 2, and 25% have engaged in 3. And what we know is those numbers keep rising with each graduating class as we are continuing to support and create those pathways for students to engage. Now I'm going to pass it over to you, Manya, to talk about study abroad.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. At Southwestern, you or your student can study abroad, intern abroad, or study away, or maybe all three. There are programs for all majors and all over the world. You don't even have to speak a foreign language, as there are plenty of English language options. We also offer the Capitol Hill Internship Program in Washington, D.C., and the New York Arts Program in New York City, giving students the advantage of choice. At Southwestern, participation in a study abroad or study away program allows you or your student to make connections, as Sarah talked about a moment ago. The personal connections you make allow you to develop self-confidence and expand your worldview. The academic connections you make allow you to experience firsthand the theories and concepts that you learn about in class in Georgetown, making those concepts really come alive. You also develop skills that are useful to you in your future career, such as cross-cultural communication, adaptability, creativity, time management, the ability to work in multicultural teams. Southwestern offers programs all over the globe. If you can dream it, you can go there. Southwestern students are eligible to study abroad or study away starting the summer after your first year on campus. You need to have at least a 2.5 GPA or higher at SU, good academic standing, and good disciplinary standing. Do keep in mind that each program has its own requirements, and some programs may require a higher GPA or have prerequisites, such as prior language classes. Now that you're interested in studying abroad or studying away, you might want to know, what are the next steps? You can search programs on the Southwestern website. Just search for study abroad and you'll find our information. There's many programs that you can look at. You can go abroad in the summer or during the semester, and you'll find lots to keep you interested there. In September, when you get to campus, do attend the Study Abroad Fair. This is a great place for you to meet with faculty who are taking students abroad and to meet with the Study Abroad program providers to really learn about the details of each program in person and ask questions. We offer both group advising and individual advising for students to really help you narrow down your program choice and to start on your application. Finally, apply and go. To stay connected and learn about everything study abroad, be sure to follow us on Instagram. We look forward to assisting you to find the best program for you. Sarah, can you tell us a little bit more about community engaged learning?
Yes. Thank you, Manya. So community engaged learning, some of you may have heard about this in high school or at other institutions. Sometimes it's referred to as service learning, but at Southwestern we use the language of community engaged learning, meaning that it is part of the academic experience and that students are taking what they're learning in the classroom and applying it in a community context or to a community project. So what that means in order to do this is that we're listening to the community. That means we're talking and engaging in conversation and collectively collaborating with the community to say, what does the community need, rather than us saying, here's what we need, and possibly burdening the community rather than building capacity. So relevant and meaningful service to the community, as well as the enhanced academic learning, meaning that it's connected to the learning goals of the course and not an add-on, so that students are given credit not for the hours that they've done, but the ways that they can reflect on that and integrate that back into the classroom learning, as well as purposeful civic learning. So again, this idea of thinking about what does this mean, not just in the context of as a student at Southwestern, but in the context of thinking about what does it mean to be a member of any community, as a social change maker, as a contributor to the well-being of humanity. So one example that I use when I describe community engaged learning is the example of tumor biology. Dr. Maria Todd teaches in our biology department, and she teaches a course that looks at tumor in cancer, specifically breast cancer. And she wants her students to have not only the molecular, very scientific perspective, specifically looking at proteins related to cancer, but also to have the human connection and think about how their work holistically is beyond just the clinical perspective of looking at breast cancer. So she has students work with our local breast cancer resource center, partnering with our breast cancer advocates, also brings them into the classroom to share what their study is, again, to take it beyond the clinical perspective. Students have also worked in the infusion rooms in our local hospitals, working with patients who are receiving chemotherapy, as well as on campus in our community garden. So in our community garden, students have grown and planted and harvested different medicinal plants that could be used for chemotherapy patients to work with nausea, and like lavender and things like that. Another example, which is a very popular example at Southwestern, is our Spanish 3 program. So all students, Spanish 3 is an intermediate Spanish, all students in Spanish 3 volunteer 8 hours in a dual language classroom. So we partner with Georgetown Independent School District, and the students support a teacher who is teaching English language learners and Spanish language learners. So as our Southwestern students are developing their own language competencies, they're asked to not only provide this engagement, but also to reflect both in English and Spanish in their coursework and their assignments on things that they learn about language learning, right? So what does it mean to be an intermediate language learner at Southwestern and then go to a classroom working with the little kids who are also developing these skills, learning new language, and kind of compare and contrast within that, right? So oftentimes when I talk about community engaged learning, I also talk about it as an opportunity to really put your opportunities in the sandbox. And sometimes that's where learning gets a little messy, right? Where it's confirming and clarifying what we're studying and how that makes sense. Also, one of our very popular co-curricular community engaged learning programs is our Spring Breakaway program. So instead of going to South Padre or to Las Vegas, Southwestern students volunteer and choose to attend Spring Breakaway and to do direct service in a community. So that could be either domestic around, this year we were supposed to go to Houston. Last year we've gone to San Francisco. We're looking forward to an international Spring Breakaway trip in the coming years. But for students to provide not only the direct service, but also get to know a community, and moving again away from this idea of we know what the community needs, we're going to come in and fix it, but instead thinking about how our own learning and our students' learning is being transformed in addition to providing a meaningful service. We have within that, we have a faculty learning partner or a staff learning partner. So in addition to doing the direct service each during the week, we also participate in reflection and really unpack the social issue or problem related to the service. Another program is our community engaged learning student associates. So this is a paid opportunity for students to work at nonprofits around Georgetown. And we have 5 key nonprofit partners that range from organizations that do after school programs, to a program that supports aging populations in Georgetown, to a local community development organization. So students, CELSAs, either support nonprofits in the community or support faculty members who are teaching these community engaged learning courses. They develop skills in project management, communication, facilitation, and community building. Again, it's a paid opportunity, but it also is a learning experience for students to really unpack what's going on. Internships, again, this is a program run through our Center for Career and Professional Development. And internships give students an opportunity to test drive a career, right? So this is one of my favorite pictures to really illustrate, because you see this is a person test driving a car. You wouldn't typically buy a car without test driving it, right? Or test driving 4 or 5 different cars, right? And so just like test driving when you're buying a car, internships provide an opportunity to explore a potential career opportunity, gain professional skills and practical application, and see if it is a good fit for you. In my own personal experience, I had to do 2 internships before I settled on and it gave me an opportunity to see, is this something I want to do for the rest of my life, or even for a short time period. At Southwestern, we have opportunities to do internships that are either academic, so for credit. Usually students do that their junior or senior year. And this is for all disciplines, all different majors. And that includes working with a faculty member as a supervisor or as a learning partner, as well as the site supervisor. So it provides academic credit and just a little bit more intentionality and integration. But we also encourage students to explore experience-only internships that can be completed at any time, and that can be shorter durations and doesn't have as much criteria as the academic internships. When we talk about internships, we believe so firmly in the opportunities that internships provide for students that we also have a funded internship program. Students can apply for funding up to $5,000 during the summer or $1,500 during the fall or spring. Since 2017, I believe the number is we've given around $200,000 to students. We've awarded, not given, because students apply for this and earn it, awarded over $200,000 for students for funded internships. This gives you all an opportunity to choose the internship that is the right fit for you, not just whether it is paid or unpaid. So students can use that money to supplement if it's an unpaid or underpaid internship, or also provide funding if you're doing an internship that requires travel. Ben, can you talk a little bit about faculty mentored research?
I think I can. So faculty mentored research at Southwestern is there to help encourage, enable, and promote your ability to, as a student, to work alongside faculty members to do research. We have several different programs that we oversee, but they all follow the national trend that is encouraging students to do research with faculty earlier and earlier in their college careers. Kind of like what Sarah was talking about with internships, how it gives you kind of like a test drive for careers. Faculty mentored research can really give you an insight into careers as well, especially if you're looking at the hard natural sciences. But it's not, I think that when you, at least before I, went to college and stuff, when I thought of research, I thought of a biology or chemistry lab. But the trend is for it to be going to more of the arts and humanities, and that's something that we're really working on at Southwestern to promote those areas of research as well. So Sarah, if you go to the next slide. So the first one that I'll be talking about is our King Creativity Program, which is wholly unique to Southwestern. It is a fund that students create their own projects. They come up with their own timelines and budgets and everything like that from their own. It could be something that's connected to something they're learning in class, but they might not have an opportunity to explore more deeply in class, or something that's completely a personal interest. So I see one of the questions we have is asking about making connections that may or may not apply to areas of study that are a major or minor at Southwestern. I think King Creativity is a great opportunity to explore those more independent areas of interest. We had a student this year who was a physics major, but also wanted to explore his Swedish heritage. So he took his knowledge of physics to build a project where he built a scale model of a Swedish ship, like an 800-year-old ship. And so that was a chance for him to take his, knowledge he was gaining in the classroom and apply it to something he would never have the opportunity to do in his classroom setting, and make it a connection with his personal interests and his personal, his family lineage and story and stuff like that. And so students apply for that program in the fall, and they get funding, and they work on it throughout the year. And then we have a symposium in the spring where students show off the projects they've been working on to the whole campus community. And it's a really, really exciting event. And King Creativity Program is funded. It was funded by a donation by an alum of Southwestern who comes back every year and just loves seeing the creativity of Southwestern students and seeing the projects they come up with on a yearly basis. Scope, like Sarah mentioned a little bit before, is our summer research program for students. We have faculty that apply. So something that you'll learn quickly about Southwestern is faculty want to work with students. They want to research with students. It's not something that they feel you have to kind of like drag them into doing. They're eager to do that. So faculty actually apply for this program. So faculty apply first with their own research projects and interests and everything like that. And then the faculty awards committee decides on that, and then students apply to work with those faculty for the summer. So it's an 8-week funded research program. Students get a fellowship for participating. You can we pay for your on-campus housing for the 8 weeks, and you're basically working 40-hour weeks as a research assistant for faculty members. And so you see here, this is a chemistry lab that students are working in. This was last summer, but we also have kinesiology, we have business, we have a political science professor that's doing research this summer. So, it's not necessarily just those hard natural sciences. And I think that that's something that is really cool, especially if you're looking to study something that isn't physics, biology, chemistry, all that kind of stuff. You're not precluded from participating in faculty mentored research. And the final thing I'm going to touch on is our Research and Creative Work Symposium. So typically, the Research and Creative Work Symposium happens the second Tuesday of April, which would have been last Tuesday. And so those, on that day, there are no classes scheduled. It's that important at Southwestern for students to be able to show off and learn from each other through research that classes are canceled for the day. And it's an opportunity for students to share, a lot of them are, hey, I did a scope project last summer. Here's what I learned. I'm presenting it in the spring. Or I did a King Creativity project. Or it's a capstone project. Or it's just something that you did independent research on and stuff like that. So presentations through poster presentations. It can be performances. It doesn't have to be, we have musicale that happens or poetry readings, those kind of things. So I think the important thing to know is that research and creative works, and that creative works are becoming increasingly part of what research is. It's not just, test tubes in the lab, it's being creative and everything like that. And so, like Sarah said, this week is actually our virtual research and creative works in lieu of having students on campus, which it actually gives you guys the opportunity. I'm going to send the link in the chat to everyone. So that's the link to our virtual research and creative works symposium website this year. So you can actually go through and look at the poster presentations and the oral presentations and see the kind of research and creativity that students are doing here on campus right now, or have done for the past year or multiple years in some cases.
Thanks, Ben. So we've talked about what our programs are and how Southwestern students can engage. We're going to switch gears now and highlight some student examples so that it's not just us talking, but you can see some of the experiences that our students have chosen to do while they were here at Southwestern. Monty, you want to start?
Yes, I see that there is a question in the chat about whether or not it's possible for students to study abroad more than once. And Jillian Glover is such a student. She actually ended up majoring in 3 majors: business, math, and Spanish, if you can imagine. It's maybe not the most obvious combination. And she took advantage of 2 of our most popular summer programs and studied abroad with Southwestern faculty. One summer she went to Granada, Spain, and learned about Spanish culture and intermediate level Spanish. And she just loved it so much. She lived with a host family. Her Spanish really improved. She loved exploring Spain and Europe. And so she came back and she talked with her Spanish professor, Dr. Ross, and asked if it would be possible for her to add a 3rd major in Spanish. And Dr. Ross was so encouraging that Jillian went ahead and did just that. And she studied abroad the following summer in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where she also lived with a host family. She was able to focus on advanced level Spanish and Latin American culture. And that gave her a chance not only to complete her Spanish major, but to really compare the language and the cultures between 2 different continents. And it gave her a much more well-rounded understanding of the language and the history of the language and the very different accents and uses of different words in different locations. And so she's a great example to address that exact question. Thank you.
Thanks, Monty. She's such a great example of the student that really can do it all and is a go-getter and has planned to be able to do all those different programs. I also want to highlight Sarah Johnson. Sarah Johnson is she's going to graduate next spring. She's a communication studies and an anthropology major. She is one of our students who has worked as a salsa. She's worked with an organization in Georgetown called the Georgetown Project, which focuses on programs for children and youth outside of GISD. So They have programs ranging from working with the little kids in pre-K programs, parenting classes, all the way through high school students and beyond. And Sarah has worked with programs that are bilingual program supporting ESL classes for parents of the little kids, as well as worked with our Nest, and that's worked with the Nest program with high school students, and has taken it upon herself in this role, not only to serve as a member of their organization, but also she's been able to connect her major. So she has done 2 major projects with the Georgetown Project. One of which is she created a fundraiser for the Nest, which was taking pictures that the Nest kids took and coordinated, and then they created cards out of that for a fundraiser for people to support. So Sarah connected her own communication studies and as well as anthropology in coming up with that project. She also is working on finishing up, also extending all the way through the summer, a project that is the Georgetown Project's big assessment. So they look at all of the different organizations around Georgetown that work with children and youth, and come up and look at the goals that the city of Georgetown has, and how we're meeting those goals, and where do we have more work to do. So she has done this throughout the year, and the Georgetown Project has asked if she could be a virtual intern this summer as well to continue the work that she's been doing.
Sarah, you're muted. You're muted.
Was I muted the whole time I was talking about Sarah Johnson? That would be not
No,
good. I
just
have
Blair.
to redo it. It's the mouse. Blair is our intern, or is our student who's demonstrating an internship, who he interned with the Round Rock Express. What I was saying, Ben, was, do I have any baseball fans out there? I know that Ben is a baseball fan. So those not from Central Texas, Round Rock Express is our minor league baseball organization. Don't quiz me on which minor league. Ben probably knows. But what he did, his role was on the promotion team. So his role was to engage fans, and this is a picture of him engaging fans during the baseball. So we probably have seen those people that send the t-shirts out and whatnot. And to improve the fan experience at Dell Diamond, which is where the Round Rock Express plays. So in his role, he was able to identify contestants to play on-field games, organize game props, and escorted special guests around the team. But as a business major and as a communication studies minor, you can see a theme here. Southwestern students like to major and minor in these connected programs. He got to connect his own understanding from his courses of communication and strategic marketing aspects to the sports industry, right? And allowed him to explore this as a potential career path and to see what he wanted to do. When he was also interviewed and talking about his internship, he talked about how one of his professional skills that he gained was this understanding of the whole experience and how important it is to be well-rounded at a variety of different experiences. So he has taken that and really made those connections through an internship. Ben, you want to talk about Sebastian?
Yeah. So Sebastian is a good example of a student who's participated in faculty mentored research, and specifically the King Creativity Program. So he did King Creativity the last 2 years. So King is something you could easily do all 4 years at Southwestern. You could do it your sophomore year and senior year. You can do it as much or as little as you'd want to. But a lot of times students who participate in it will do it multiple years because it's such a rewarding and fulfilling experience, and it lets them, do the things they want to do. So Sebastian, and specifically Sebastian's projects, are good examples of how multidisciplinary the King program can be. So the project that he worked on, and you can work on it in a group. So this year he worked with 3 other students. He actually worked with a group of 4 students last year as well. Their project this year was called Finding Beauty in Disease. And so you can see he's a biology student. He worked with a couple other students who are in the natural sciences, but then a student who's also in arts. And they took pictures of diseases under microscopes and turned them into these pieces of art, with different colors and different magnifications and everything like that. And then they sold those pieces of art on stickers you can put on your laptop or different prints, and then use the money that they raised to donate towards research funds for those diseases. So like breast cancer cells on a certain magnification turn into something that's kind of like abstract art. And they sold that and then donated that towards a breast cancer research foundation. And so just really cool, I would never have thought of that. But when you look at things from different perspectives and you're given an opportunity to apply that knowledge and everything in a unique way, you can come out with really cool results. And so this picture here is actually at the King Symposium at the beginning of March. So you can see Sebastian's talking about his project. It's packed with faculty and students and staff that have come to watch and see the different projects that students are presenting. So it's really, really cool experience.
And just to brag on Sebastian a little bit as well, I don't know if you've spoken to him recently, but the last I spoke to him right before the King Creativity Symposium, he's getting ready to graduate, and he was telling me that he had offers both, I believe it's Yale, and doing research there, as well as UT. And so he had that tough decision of which really great program he was going to decide on.
Yeah.
Now is the time for us to look at to hand it over to you and see if you have any questions for us. I know there's been some questions already in the chat box. Ben, is there a question that we want to start off with?
Yeah, so it looks like, Manya, we have a couple questions related to funding for study abroad, and how that works, and if your scholarships through Southwestern can be applied, all those sorts of questions.
Great. Southwestern really wants to support students to study abroad. And there's numerous different opportunities to do that. With some programs, you are able to take your Southwestern Merit Aid. Some of the really popular programs are the London Semester Program that's offered every fall. And on that program, you can study, you can intern, you can do both. There's a lot of opportunities there for many, many students, so it's very popular. We also have a program in Washington, D.C., where you can use your SU Merit Aid. And we have a program that is an exchange program called ICEP, and there are opportunities to study at numerous universities around the world. And with that program model, you can take your SU Merit Aid. There are also numerous programs that you can attend through study abroad program providers. And with those programs, we do offer separate study abroad scholarships that students apply for. We give out well over $100,000 per year in study abroad specific scholarships that are really meant to replace that merit aid and apply it specifically for study abroad. Some of those programs have costs that are very similar to Southwestern. Some of them have costs that are less than Southwestern, which coupled with a scholarship really can make it quite affordable. And of course, you can always find programs that cost more if you're looking, and that's something that you want to do.
Okay, thanks, Manya. Sarah, I don't know if you could answer this question since you talked a little about internships, but there's a question about companies offering paid internships to students, and if that's something that happens with Southwestern students from time to time.
Yeah, the Center for Career and Professional Development has a lot of great connections with companies and also with alumni. So there is a balance between paid internships, and they have lists and opportunities on their websites, or they have opportunities to meet with them and go through. So we have, in addition to Dana Luna, we also have Craig Gilden, who is our internship developer. So he works with those organizations. Though the other piece within that is to remember that we also have the funded internship program that Southwestern pays to students to be able to do those internships if there's not a paid internship available to them.
Manya, we have another study abroad question. There was one earlier about questions about shorter programs like over winter or spring break, but there's another question just asking how long study abroad programs typically last.
Oh, great questions. So we do have various links in study abroad programs. Currently, our summer programs might be as short as 3 weeks, some are 4 weeks, some are 8 weeks. Of course, students can go abroad for a full semester or even a full academic year. Those are certainly options for students, and you can fit that in and still graduate in 4 years. Not a problem, and we're happy to work with you to make that plan. We also have programs in development that haven't launched yet that would happen over spring break. And so that's something that we're working on right now. And I don't have too many details just yet, but I think that that will be available during your time here at Southwestern. So keep your eyes peeled.
Okay, thanks. I'm also going to talk about a question I usually quite often get about faculty mentored research is how do you connect with faculty members to do research? How do you make that connection? Because you're building a relationship with a faculty member and you're working alongside them for a long time. So what I will say is that we, like with Scope, for example, we build the program in such a way where you are applying to work with a faculty member. And so you don't necessarily have to have a pre-existing relationship or have had that faculty member in class before or anything like that. But a lot of times that building that in-class relationship or working with the faculty member in some way outside the classroom is really beneficial to working alongside them when research as well. They will know who you are, you'll know who they are. It'll give you some insight into what their research, faculty members will have research agendas or research questions that they work on for multiple years. We have a biology professor who looks at the environmental DNA of apple snails, and she's done that for years, and that's what her research agenda is based around. And she works with the same students doing research. Like she'll take a student and work with them for multiple years on that same research. And so getting to know your faculty members, whether it's inside of your discipline that you're currently studying or outside, if you have an interest outside that area as well, is really beneficial for finding those research opportunities, but not necessarily required. We have different opportunities where those relationships aren't required, and they can help build those relationships with faculty members going forward as well.
Can I jump in real quick and just piggyback on that, Ben? There's also really great opportunities to connect with faculty to study abroad. We have several faculty members who take a group of Southwestern students abroad, either on the London semester or for short programs in the summer. And the programs focus on different themes. So this is a great opportunity to get Southwestern credit, go with one of your faculty members from Southwestern, and also a group of students from Southwestern, and focus on a particular theme or a particular topic. So I mentioned earlier that there are long-standing programs in Spanish language in Spain and Argentina, but we also have offered some really exciting programs such as looking at sustainability in Switzerland, or looking at gender and sexuality in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. There's some really exciting opportunities for students to engage in for short periods during the summer.
Manya, along those same lines,
Yes.
I loved how you brought in the ways that all of our programs kind of intersect and connect across.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the internship programs or the internships that our students have done in London and the opportunities with that as well for our London Study Abroad program?
Yes, so our London Study Abroad program students they have the opportunity to take some classes focused on British life and culture, theater in Britain, and then also take classes with our faculty in their discipline. And then in addition to those opportunities, students can intern with a company or an organization in London for the semester. And what a great resume building opportunity that is. And students have done all kinds of things. They've done things in theater and the arts. Of course, London is really well known for the arts. Students have done things in business and economics, in the sciences. So there's just a wide range of opportunities. And then a lot of those students come back and they present their experience during research and creative works. You'll probably, if you log on to the link that Ben put in the chat, you'll probably see some of the examples there of students who interned in London, and you can get an idea from the student perspective of what that experience was like. But that experience is really a leverage for next steps, for future internship opportunities, for job opportunities, for graduate school opportunities for students, because it really takes it shows that students are able to take on a lot more if they're interning abroad as opposed to studying abroad, because you really have to understand not only the language and the culture of the environment, but really the language and culture of the work environment. And you would be surprised that you may have to actually learn some language in London. We had last week, we were offering a pre-departure orientation for our students going to London in the fall. And we had a vocabulary lesson of British words that are not so common in the United States. So even though we think we speak the same language, there are some language differences. And there's also cultural differences in Britain, and how you behave in the workplace and what's acceptable and not acceptable. So it's just an amazing learning experience that you can use and bring back to Texas or wherever you're from, or wherever you plan to live after college, and really use those skills, those cross-cultural skills, those empathy skills, those communication skills to leverage that job search. And it's just an amazing, incredible opportunity that students really rave about.
And when we were talking about the students to highlight, there was a student that I almost suggested, Maureen Rendon, who did the London program in the fall, and Laura's shaking her head. So you know, Maureen is a stellar student. She also was a spring breakaway leader. So for 2 years in a row, she led two programs actually for 2 years in a row to San Francisco, one looking at immigration, and the other one I believe was looking at workers' rights in San Francisco. So she did she did that. She's done so many things across campus. I think she's
doing scope this summer. So
right,
we should have done her for all of our things.
Yeah, she just could be the highlight. Or she's also looking at doing it sometime in the future as well, returning to London and doing an internship with the State Department as well. So it's always great to see those cross-pollination. Any other questions? I know that there might be some other questions. Any other questions that participants might have for us?
Sarah, I think if either you or Manya could go over the financial aid part again for study abroad. That seems to come up a few times.
I'm going to let Manya handle that because we have quite a few options and continuing to refine them for students, because I hope you hear the theme of this presentation as well, as that we want to access, remove barriers for students to be able to participate.
Yes, thank you. So there are numerous opportunities to fund study abroad programs. Some programs you can use your merit aid. Many programs, the majority, you can use any federal financial aid. And then in addition, Southwestern offers scholarships that are specific for study abroad. Those are available for students who have financial need. And also we have scholarships available for students that may not have high financial need, okay? Or really demonstrated financial need. So there's merit-based and financial need-based study abroad specific scholarships that students apply for. It's embedded in that study abroad application. It's very simple and very easy, and you get notified shortly after the application, so well before you have to fully commit to that program. In addition, we work very closely with students to help students take advantage of some really, really amazing national scholarships for study abroad. And there's some high awards that are targeted to students who do have high financial need, but there's many different opportunities. The other approach that students often take is to look for a program that costs less than studying at Southwestern. So if the program costs less, plus the student receives study abroad scholarships and maybe some federal financial aid, that will cover the cost of the program. So I know there's a lot of different scenarios, but my colleague Megan and I are happy to meet with students individually and really look at a tailored plan just for you, focused on what your goals are, where you want to go, how long you want to be there, whether you want to go on one program or 3 programs. All of those are opportunities. So I hope that you understand the gist of our message, which is that you can do it all if you want to. You can pick and choose. There's so many things that are available for you to do at Southwestern that you will surely find 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 things that you really love and you get involved in.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, well, I want to thank Sarah, Manya, and Ben. We are so grateful for all of your information that you shared and all of the things that you do to enhance the educational opportunities at Southwestern for our students. We will be back in a few minutes with our student panel. See you then.